Well, hello. Um, I'm going to try to cover Buddhism and Enlightenment. The whole, the whole enchilada in the next 15 minutes. But I'm going to start up with a little history, personal history. Um, Started smoking pot in my late 20s. Was totally stoned through my 30s, and also during that time, I ate a lot of acid. About 40, 50 hits maybe, or that 10-year period. I don't know. You lose count. Uh, and uh, Psilocybin a few times, and peyote once. I snorted uh, heroin once. Didn't like it. Didn't care for it. And snorted cocaine a bunch of times. And, I didn't do any, it doesn't do that much for me. I don't know why. Uh, I smoked crack a few times, and the people I was with, oh God, they were just loving it. And I was like, yeah, Nick, you want to hit this joint? It was just, I don't know, I was a pothead. I still am. Well, but in between, uh, I got clean and sober, uh, 7 days after my 40th birthday. And then I was sober for 33 years almost. But like a week before my AA birthday, my 33-year birthday, um, one of my massage clients gave me a joint, and I had been thinking about, hey, it's all legal now. I might try it. So I did, and I fell in love again. So it's a lot different now. It's different weed, and but anyway, so it's a long story how I got clean and sober, as we say. And I was in AA for 9 years, and then I got too weird, too weird for AA. Let's see. I was going to have these books out, and I forgot about it. Suddenly, my audiovisual aids, but I know I know the names of them anyway. Um, the first, for somehow I ended up with a subscription to Yoga Journal after I was a few years sober, and I read an article about this guy, Jean Klein, in this new book that he had out. And I read the book. The name of it is Who Am I by Jean Klein. It's actually a compilation by Emma Edwards. So I read this book, and I thought it was a little too woo, and I put it aside. But a few years later, I read it again, and in the meantime, I'm not sure what happened, but it started to make sense, except it didn't make sense. So the problem was to figure it out. So I read that book many times, and he mentioned Chuang Tzu, so I read about Chuang Tzu, and then that led me to a book somehow called The Enlightened Mind by Stephen Mitchell, which I think I have two copies here. But so that is like a smorgasbord. It's like a sampling of all sorts of enlightened, who knows what that means, uh, literature from the Upanishads on up to the, I don't know, 30s or 40s or something. Um, his choice, Stephen Mitchell's choice of what it means. And but I read all those, and that's what led to all these books here because I ended up buying a lot of the things that he referenced to, and then I didn't. All of them didn't appeal to me, but some of them did, and some of those I pursued. So I ended up with all these books here, and I've read them all, some of them several times, on Sufism and Buddhism, and Theravada and Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism and Zen Buddhism is my favorite. That's where I ended up. Uh, most uh, with most affinity for. But Advaita Vedanta, I read a lot of that stuff and was very interested. But so all of these books, they boil down to one thing. And it was that first book by Stephen Mitchell. Uh, this old guy said that the secret of Zen was just abandon um, uh, abandon a certain kind of thinking, which the word just totally escapes me. Uh, Categorical thinking, conceptual thinking, abandon conceptual thinking, or something along that line. But it boils down to abandon language because all our concepts are in language. So, uh, but the way I discovered what the experience is like to abandon language is, everybody's advice. There's you can go so many different directions. It's amazing. But it ended up what helped me the most, I think, was a technique that Jean Klein described, where he says you're not thinking continuously. You think you are maybe, but you're not. Uh, so pay attention to your thoughts. That's really the whole value of meditation, I think, is to learn to see your thoughts. Pay attention to your thoughts and look for a gap between thoughts. And who knows what that looks like or feels like? Well, gap between thoughts. Where's that? So, but I thought, okay, I'll look for a gap between thoughts. So you don't have to sit or do anything special. Anytime during your day, you can look for a gap in your thoughts. And one day I experienced one. So, and you can practice and you can get much better at it and so forth. So that is what it's like to your perception still works. You can see, you can hear everything else. But if you don't have concepts, you can't talk about it. Anything. You cannot talk about anything. So what you're left with is perceptual experience, visual, audio, whatever, touch, whatever. But without concepts, it's like everything sort of blends together. It's all one thing because there's no words. Words sort of separate things into objects. And if you don't have those, then there's no objects. Everything just sort of blends together. Anyway, I was telling a friend about this once, and a friend of my wife's, Gail, and she said, "You can't function like that." I said, "No, you can't. You can't function like that. We have to have language to work, for society to work. We have to be able to talk to each other and understand what we mean. I need to tell you what I want on my pizza." Uh, so language is essential. The idea is not to do away with language. The idea is to realize that language and reality are two different things. Language is great for everyday manipulation of reality, but it's not reality. And you can look at that scientifically or, well, I'll tell you scientifically. Right? I've got a tree at my window there, beautiful redwood, right? The neighbor's backyard. And you can't perceive the whole tree. I mean, even visually, you can't, it's got too many facets, too many sides, and too many angles where the light comes in to see each uh, view of what it looks like is itself an incredible task. It's a big job. And but that's not the only thing that's going on. In addition, it's sucking up water and nutrients from the ground, and it's doing this chlorophyll thing with converting them to sugar or whatever, to bark and leaves and everything else. So all these processes are going on, and it all depends on the attraction between molecules that hold the cellulose uh, strands together. The chemical bonds between different parts of it. So the tree is a huge, infinite thing. I mean, if you look at from the outside in, it just gets more and more complex. And so perceptually, we cannot perceive all that information. Our brains don't have the bandwidth to display all that information in one chunk. It We can only do it in bits and pieces. Our consciousness only can only put the light on a few bits of the piece at the time. So reality is, in a sense, not in the everyday sense, but reality is incomprehensible. It's uh, it's too complex to be understood in all its complexity. We can understand how complex it is, but we can't experience that complexity. It's just too much. So the important thing then to realize is that there is a reality that's beyond what we can talk about, that is bigger than the word tree. There's a story about Trungpa Rinpoche and tree, the word tree. They call that a tree, as if tree could encompass what a tree is. It can't. So, the thing we learn is that language and reality are separate, two separate things. Language sort of maps to reality in a very convenient way, but is not reality. As the Zen guys say, Zen does not burn the tongue. The language that we use is not the thing itself. And the thing itself is beyond our understanding. So, really, so the contribution Buddhism makes, this is supposedly about Buddhism, right? Um, is to learn to see your thoughts and to realize that, well, the Buddha said, there's lots of good things there. He said, among other things, if you can, who knows what he said, but he said, everything is the result of causes and conditions. And that's what we call determinism, folks. The universe just flows. It's like gravity and light and all these things. It just all fits together in this incredible way. Just seeing the environmental part of it, that was just such a small part. Anyway, it's overwhelming. This really is overwhelming to try to sense the amazing, the planet, even just the planet and humanity, and all these people running around believing different things about different about these invisible beings. It's like it's such a joke to see how language and words and the way they manipulate people's minds and everything divorce us from the fact that there really is a reality. There are really trees, and reality is something you need to pay attention to. It's helpful to get by on this planet if you're in touch with the things that make it work. Um, so enlightenment. So Buddhism, it gives us the tools. We can see our thoughts. We can see that our our thoughts are beyond our control. Can realize we can realize that we are just in this flow of the universe. You know, there's nobody in charge. It's just moving along according to physics and chemistry. And, ideas have a part in it too, but it's all those and the way they're received by people and interpreted and everything, all that is just physics and chemistry. So, to be able to see that, it loosens you up in so many ways. You don't really, you realize language is a tool. You don't take it seriously. And you don't take people's ideas seriously. It's a, it's a way to get by. I know how to pay the guy at Trader Joe's, right? You need to know that stuff. But reality is so much bigger than that. And to let that distract you from the amazing thing that you are, and the amazing, it's not just, you know, you exist in this whole matrix, right? I love that movie. Um, we all exist here, in this matrix, and it is just working according to physics. And so don't take it so seriously, right? It's just a workable, it's just something that works for now. And hopefully we can improve on it. It leads to lots of improvement. But anyway, so enlightenment is just seeing things the way they are and accepting them the way they are, accepting what we are and accepting the limitations that our reality imposes on us. I can't eat as much dessert as I would like to. I would become unmanageable. I couldn't get out the door, if I ate as much as I wanted to. So we have to sort of stay in touch with the reality of the situation. But that leaves a lot of room to play around. So don't get bogged down in the details. You need to know them and everything, but realize that the whole thing is much bigger. And that, I think, is what enlightenment is, to just see what we really are and what the context is and go with it, understand ourselves and the world. And, you got to make peace with it. It just is. Um, so I hope I haven't ranted too long. And you have a great day in spite of it. Okay. Bye.